In this video, I will show you how to cast on using double-pointed needles. The needles we are using today are a set of 5 2.5mm or US size 1 needles, and the yarn we're using is Kind of Magic yarn by Wool and the Gang in the perfect purple shade. Let's get started. Once you've removed your yellow waste yarn and pulled on your yarn tail until the second colour has emerged, make a slip knot where those two colours join. Then take your first double-pointed needle and put the slip knot over the top and adjust it. Now it's time to begin casting on your stitches, and you're going to look at how many stitches you need to cast on in total and cast on 1/4 of that number onto your first double-pointed needle. And today I'm going to use the long tail cast on technique. So you're just going to cast on completely as normal. So I've now cast on my first quarter, and I'm now going to want to repeat those steps onto my second double-pointed needle. So pick up your next needle, and you're going to want to hold it in front of your first double-pointed needle. And so you might find it easy to just pinch it in position with your thumb and index finger, and then just begin casting on again as normal. And so you're going to want to do the same amount of stitches on your second needle as were on your first needle. And you might want to push the stitches along on your first needle so they sit in the centre as you're working, just to make things a bit easier. Okay, I now have the same amount of stitches on my second needle as I have on my first needle, so it's time to repeat those steps again. Pick up your next double-pointed needle, cross it over in front of your previous needle, and cast on your same amount of stitches once more. And again, just shift those stitches down to the centre of your double-pointed needle. And so for one final time, pick up your next double-pointed needle, cross it over in front of the needle you just cast on stitches to, and cast on your last quarter of stitches. And it might feel a little bit awkward at this point, but soon, once you join it all into the round, it'll feel a lot easier to work with. Okay, so I've now cast on my total number of stitches and they're equally distributed over my 4 double pointed needles. I'm going to push all the stitches to the center of all 4 needles and I'm going to arrange them so that they're in a square. And now it's really important to check that you've not twisted any of your joins. So this one here looks like it's twisted and you need to make sure that it's going to sit so your cast on edge is going to flow neatly. Like so. You can see now that there's no twisting of colour. So you're going to position your 4 needles into a square, and just to make that square stable, you might find it easier if you pinch onto your pink tail onto that first double pointed needle. Like so. Now you're going to shift those stitches towards the end of the tip of your needle. And this is the first stitch that you're going to start working when you begin working in the round. So you're going to take your 5th double pointed needle, and this is your working needle, and you're going to insert it into that first stitch. Take your yarn, being careful not to tangle it, and just knit as normal. So now you've joined in the round and you're just going to work to the end of this first needle. As I'm knitting the ribbing section of a sock, I'm going to work in 1 by 1 rib. And it might feel a bit awkward at first, feels a bit clumsy because you've got a lot of needles on the go, but once you've done a few rounds, the setup will be stabilised and it will feel a lot easier. So what you're basically doing is transferring the stitches from needle 1 onto the working needle. And then once you've done that, needle 1 will be empty and needle 1 will become your new working needle. I'll show you what that looks like once I get to the end of this needle. Okay, so now needle 1 is empty. I'm going to push those stitches I've just worked to the middle of this needle, and now needle 1 has become your working needle. So you're going to rotate your work clockwise, and now you're going to begin working across the next needle. And that's how you continue to work in the round, by working across one needle, rotating your work, working across the next. So there you have it. That's how to cast on onto double pointed needles and work in the round.